YouTube and welcome back to my kitchen. Today I'm going to show you just a simple soup recipe. My cousin called me a few weeks ago and he was making his potato soup, and ever since then I've just kind of thought, man, that sounds so good. So I thought I'd get all the ingredients together, grab the camera, and show you how I make my potato soup. Stay tuned and I will show you how to get started. Okay guys, to get started with our potato soup, I've got the largest stock pot that I have. I have that on my burner, medium to high heat. And I'm gonna first add 3 tablespoons of butter and get that melting. I try to get my burner on to start with, just so it'll speed the process up a little bit. All right, once your butter gets kind of melty, we're gonna add 1 medium to large white or yellow onion, diced up finely. And we're just gonna let that kind of hang out, saute, kind of open up the flavors in the pan, or in the onion, melt that butter. I hope you guys can see this, it's creating steam. It already smells good. If you like onions, this will smell good. We love onions around here. Those that don't, just kind of maybe skip this part, adding the onions, and maybe to the stock or the soup, add onion powder, or if you don't like onions at all, just leave it out. We're just gonna wanna loosen those flavors up, get them going, melt that butter. I'm gonna go ahead and add my garlic now, because I'm not gonna leave this on here for that long. You don't wanna add garlic too soon or it'll burn. But I've got 1 clove of garlic chopped up. If you don't have the cloves and you just have the, that garlic in the jar, that's what I normally use. I'm gonna turn my heat down. It's 1 tablespoon of garlic. They say usually adds up to 1 clove of garlic diced up. All right, we don't want those to burn. I turned my heat down. This is one of those tricky, I want to show you guys how to make this because it's so delicious, but also it's kind of difficult because of the camera angle. Once my butter is melted, I'm gonna let this hang out off camera just because it's taking a little while and I don't want it to burn. But I'm going to bring you back once my butter is all melted. All right guys, my butter is all melted. I'm gonna go ahead and add 3 tablespoons of flour and quickly mix that up into my onions and butter. We're sort of making a roux. It's not a true roux, simply because there's onions in there, but this will help thicken up our potato soup a little bit. Okay. And to this, I'm going to add 8 cups of stock. Careful, it's gonna sizzle. Now I have made my own stock, but you are certainly welcome to make or to purchase stock, I'm sorry. And that's just either chicken broth, or if you want to make this a vegetarian meal, you can make it vegetable broth. We had a ham for Easter, so I had a leftover ham. And so I thought instead of wasting it, I would just make some soup stock. So that's what I did here. Okay, to this, I'm going to add, I have my cheat sheet over here, sorry. Okay, I have 2 potatoes that I have already mashed up. And I'm just going, it was just a rough mash. I just boiled 2 medium-sized potatoes and then just roughly mash them up. This is gonna help thicken our soup. I just like the way the, I don't know, the consistency of it all. Okay, to this, I'm gonna add my spices, which is 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of pepper, 1 teaspoon of basil, and a half of a teaspoon of thyme. I've already measured them all out. Stir that in. And now I'm also going to add 2 cups of water, which I have to get. And a cup and a half of half and half. All right, now I also have 6 potatoes. I just used a yellow potato simply because that's what I had on hand, but they're pretty hearty. But I'm gonna add 6 potatoes, try to without splashing everywhere, that I just gave a chop to. Now you wanna keep your potatoes roughly the same size and your chop so they cook evenly. And at this point, guys, I'm just gonna literally let it simmer. I'm gonna let it come up to a rolling boil, which that means that you can't stir it down. And then I'm gonna turn my burner not completely off, but I will turn it down so it has time to simmer. I wanna simmer this for about an hour and a half. Coming back to it every so often, stirring it down, making sure it doesn't get too overcooked. Basically, you just want your seasonings to marry together and your potatoes to cook in the broth. I find that the potatoes, when they cook in the broth, they just have a lot more flavor. But that's it. We just let it go for an hour and a half, and I will bring you back at that point. Okay guys, I am about halfway through cooking my potato soup. And it's turning out nicely. I've tasted it a couple times and I think it's flavored well. I think I might add a little bit more salt closer to the end of the cook time. I was afraid to add too much simply because I used a ham bone to make my stock and I don't want to over salt my dish. I like my potato soup a little on the thicker side. So what I like to do is halfway through my cooking, I take 3 tablespoons of cornstarch and I just mix it with just enough water to kind of make my cornstarch milky, like the consistency of maybe whole milk. And then I'm just gonna pour it in and quickly give it a stir. And that'll help kind of thicken up my soup so it's a little bit more maybe a chowder consistency rather than a soup. At the end, I'm gonna add a little bit of cheese. So it will get a little bit thicker with the cheese, but for right now, I think that that is going to make my soup consistency a little bit more to my liking. So if you like a little bit more of a watery soup, go ahead and just leave this part out. But if you like it thicker, go ahead and add the 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. I like to mix it with a little bit of water first simply because it won't get lumpy then. All right guys, I'm gonna let this finish up cooking, stirring it ever so, I don't know, maybe every 15 minutes, just so it doesn't get burnt on the bottom, and I will bring you back when we're done. All right guys, my potato soup has simmered on the stovetop for about an hour and a half. It's thickened up nicely. I'm happy with the consistency. I should also note that if you guys, I have my very best friend, she doesn't mind the flavor of onions, however, she doesn't care for the texture of onions. The onions I put in here, I dice them pretty fine, and because I let it simmer for so long, You cannot, when you bite into the soup, I've already tasted it, I cannot, there are no onion pieces in there. It's all kind of disintegrated into the soup. At this point, I've turned my heat off. It's still quite hot. I'm gonna add a cup and a half of, I'm using sharp cheddar cheese, but you just sprinkle that right in. Give it a good stir. This kind of just adds to the decadence of this soup without overpowering it. You don't lose the flavor of the potato at all. It just kind of adds to, it's almost like a loaded mashed potato or a loaded baked potato. See, it's not overly cheesy. I always dress it with a little bit of cheese on top anyway. If you like more cheese though, I mean, you're more than welcome to put more in there. All right, I'm gonna bring you back and show you how I dress this. All right, as soon as you get it plated up into whatever bowl you're gonna be serving, I just like to take a little bit of that sharp cheddar cheese, kind of sprinkle it on top. A little bit of green onions. And I fried up, or actually I cooked up in the oven, but I've got some bacon pieces here. Now that looks so good. All right, that is how I make my potato soup. If you guys liked today's video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you like what I do here, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future videos. I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.